Good afternoon and welcome to the Learn English Network English Book Club with me, Teach Lynn, your teacher. And today we have a reading list which consists of, I'm hoping I've not forgotten anybody, Paulette, followed by Eleanor, Alexandra, Nina, Hermina and Selina. I've got to say Nina, Hermina, Selina. Okay, have I missed anybody? I think I've got everyone. So could somebody say something and let's just check if there's any. Paulette, you'll be starting. So can I hear you? Can you hear me? Are we echoless?
Hello everyone, I can hear you and no echo.
Excellent. Good, good, good. That means I don't have to switchy swapsy stuff. Okay, so if you look in the book club kidnapped section under Lynn's session in Discord, you should see some pinned messages. And from last week, we stopped at chapter 6, page 45 in my book, 40 in the actual printed version. And it's the paragraph, "This threw me back on ransom," okay, which is the second paragraph down. Does everybody agree with me?
Yes.
Excellent. Good, good, good. You always agree with me. I know because you're scared of me, Eleanor. Okay, so Paulette, whenever you're ready, if you would like to start.
Yes, thank you. This threw me back on ransom, who seemed the least wicked of that gang, and who soon came out of the inn and ran to me, crying for a bowl of punch. I told him I would give him no such thing, for neither he nor I was of an age for such indulgences. But a glass of ale you may have, and welcome, said I. He mopped and mowed at me, and called me names, but he was glad to get the ale. For all that, and presently we were set down at a table in the front room of the inn, and both eating and drinking with a good appetite. Here it occurred to me that, as the landlord was a man of that county, I might do well to make a friend of him. I offered him a share, as was much the custom in those days, but he was far too great a man to sit with such poor customers as Ransom and myself, and he was leaving the room when I called him back to ask if he knew Mr. Rankuler. Who'd I? Says he, and a very honest man. And, oh, by the by, says he, was it you that came in with Ebenezer? And when I had told him yes, will be no friend of his, he asked, meaning in the Scottish way that I would be no relative. I told him no, none. I thought not, said he, and yet ye have a kind of glyph of Mr. Alexander. I said it seemed that Ebenezer was ill seen in the country. Nay, doubt, said the landlord, he's a wicked old man, and there's many would like to see him gurning in the tow. Janet Clouston and mony more that he has harried out of house and hame. And yet he was once a fine young fellow too, but that was before the south. He'd brought about Mr. Alexander, that was like the death of him. And what was it? I asked. Oh, just that you had killed him, said the landlord. Did you never hear that? And what would he kill him for? Said I. And what for, but just to get the place, said he. The place, said I. The shows. Nee, or the place that I ken, said he. Aye, man, said I. Is that so? Was Alexander the eldest son? Deed was he, said the landlord. What else he have killed him for? And with that he went away, and he was been impatient, as he had been impatient to do from the beginning. Of course, I had guessed it a long while ago, but it is one thing to guess, another to know, and I sat stunned with my good fortune and could scarce grow to believe that the same poor lad who had trudged in the dust from Ettrick Forest not 2 days ago was now one of the rich of the earth, and had a house and broadlands, and might mount his horse tomorrow. All these pleasant things and a thousand others crowded into my mind as I sat staring before me out of the inn window, and paying no heed to what I saw. Only I remember that my eye lighted on Captain Hoseason down on the pier among his seamen, and speaking with some authority. And presently he came marching back towards the house with no mark of a sailor's clumsiness, but carrying his fine, tall figure with a manly bearing, and still with the same sober, grave expression of his face. I wondered if it was possible that Ransom's stories could be true, and half disbelieved him. They fitted so ill with the man's looks, but indeed he was neither so good as I supposed him, nor quite so bad as Ransom did, for, in fact, he was two men, and left the better one behind as soon as he set foot on board of his vessel. The
Very
next
good.
thing,
Well
thank you.
done. Okay, that's your 5 minutes up. Goes quickly. Excellent. Very good reading. Good start, everybody. Difficult one to follow. Okay, so any questions before I give Paulette her feedback? Everybody okay? Yes,
There's
very good
something
acting.
interesting. Uh, did, which means indeed,
Yeah, that's it.
tricky.
Deed
Hmm.
indeed. That's it. Because deed can also mean like a legal piece of paper to show ownership of something, but no, in this case, it is short for indeed. Deed. Okay, so Paulette. First word wicked, not wicked, wicked. Try it.
Wicked, wicked.
That's it. And try and make it a d, a dull d, because there is wicket, which is cricket term. Yeah. He took the wicket. So wicked.
Wicked.
That's better. Good. Then the next one, occurred. Occurred.
I
I
said
know.
occurred. Occurred.
That's
Occurred.
better. Good, good, good. And then crowded.
Crowded.
Very good. And then towards. Not two words,
Oh yes, two.
towards.
Oh, again, two words.
It's one that's your favourite.
Two words.
Okay, and then this use of for all that. Basically, it's connected to being glad to get the ale. So you would emphasise that by saying it, but he was glad to
He
get the
was,
ale for all that.
but he was glad to get the ale for all that.
That's it, because it's not indicating it for
Yes,
all
yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah, he was glad
Yes,
even
yes.
though. Excellent, well done.
Thank,
So,
thank you.
you're welcome. Eleanor, it is your turn next. Oh, I forgot to show the corrections in the text. Oh, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I've not been showing the text. Ah, dear, sorry guys. Anyway, you can follow it in the book. So,
Oh,
okay, so Eleanor, are you ready?
uh, the sacramental question, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
loud and clear. Okay, whenever you're ready, if you would like to start.
the next thing I had my uncle calling me and found the pair in the road together. It was the captain who addressed me, and that with an air very flattering to a young lad of grave equality. Sir, said he, Mr. Balfour tells me great things of you, and for my own part I like your looks. I wish I was for longer here, that we might make the better friends, but we'll make the most of what we have. He shall come on board my brig for half an hour till the ebb sets and drink a bowl with me. Now, I long to see the inside of a ship more than words can tell, but I was not going to put myself in jeopardy, and I told him my uncle and I had an appointment with a lawyer. I, said he passed me word of that, but you see, the boats set ye ashore at the town pier, and that's but a penny stone cast from Renkelow's house. And here he suddenly leans down and whispered in my ear, "Take care of the old tot, he means mischief. Come aboard till I can get a word with ye." And then, passing his arm through mine, he continued aloud as he set off towards his boat. "But come, what can I bring you from the Carolinas? Any friend of Mr. Balfour's can command. A roll of tobacco, Indian featherwork, a skin of wild beast, a stone pipe, the mockingbird that mews for all the world like a cat, the cardinal bird that is as red as blood. Take your pick and say your pleasure." By this time we were at the boatside, and he was handing me in. I did not dream of hanging back. I thought, the poor fool, that I had found a good friend and helper, and I was rejoiced to see the ship. As soon as we were all set in our places, the boat was thrust off from the pier and began to move over the waters. And what with my pleasure in this new movement, and my surprise at our low position, and the appearance of the shores, and the growing bigness of the brig as we drew near to it, I could hardly understand what the captain said, and must have answered him and at random. As soon as we were alongside, where I sat fairly gaping at the ship's height, the strong humming of the tide against its sides, and the pleasant cries of the seamen at their work, Howison declaring that he and I must be the first aboard, or that a tackle to be sent down from the main yard. In this I was whipped into the air and set down again on the deck, where the captain stood ready waiting for me, and instantly slipped back his arm under mine. There I stood some while, a little dizzy with the unsteadiness of all around me, perhaps a little afraid, and yet vastly pleased with these strange sights, the captain meanwhile pointing out the strangers and telling me their names and uses. "But where is my uncle?" said I suddenly. "Ay," said Hosison with a sudden grimness, "that's the point." I felt I was lost. With all my strength I plucked myself clear of him and ran to the bulwarks. Sure enough, there was the boat pulling for the town, with my uncle sitting in the stern. I gave a piercing cry. "Help! Help! Murder!" So that both sides of the anchorage rang with it, and my uncle turned round where he was sitting and showed me a face full of cruelty and terror. It was the last I saw. Already strong hands had been plucking me back from the ship's side, and now a thunderbolt seemed to strike me. I saw a great flash of fire and fell senseless.
Very good. Well done. Good place to stop
And
there. Excellent.
yeah,
Very well read. Oh my goodness. Okay,
it's
any.
scary.
It is, yes. Well, we knew that was going to happen, I think. I don't think it was a surprise to anybody that he would be betrayed like that. Any questions before I give Eleanor her very short feedback? Nope.
There are
Okay.
some nautical terms, but I
There
don't
are a few
remember.
coming
Yeah,
up,
we
yes.
have seen many in about. Do you remember?
Okay, so the first one is jeopardy.
Ah, Jeopardy. Okay,
Yeah, jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
That's
Okay,
it. And then anchorage.
Anchorage.
That's
Anchorage.
it.
Is
Good.
Jeopardy.
Now there
Okay.
is a bit of nautical terminology here as well. Let me see if I can get it to record. Hang on.
Bulwark.
Okay, so bulwark. Bulwark. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I can.
So
Bulwark.
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 Bulwark. No, not bulwark. Bulwark.
Ah, yeah, I remember. Yeah, Bulwark.
That's it.
Okay.
It's got the schwa, your
Yeah.
favourite drunken E in it. I had to check because I don't really do much sailing.
Not
So
I, and I have forgotten a lot, Bulwark. Okay, thank
I've
you.
forgotten more than I ever knew. So, okay, very nicely read. Let's carry on. The next person on the list is Alexandra. Alexandra, are you ready?
I am.
Excellent. So, as soon as you feel comfortable, if you'd like to begin.
Chapter 7. I go to sea in the brick covenant of Dysart. I came to myself in darkness, in great pain, bound hand and foot, and deafened by many unfamiliar noises. There sounded in my ears a roaring of water as of a huge meltdown, the thrashing of heavy sprays, the thundering of the sails, and the shrill cries of seamen. The whole world now heaven giddily up, and now rushed giddily downward, and so sick and hurt was I in body, and my mind so much confounded, that it took me a long while, chasing my thoughts up and down, and ever stunned again by a fresh stab of pain, to realize that I must be lying somewhere bound in the belly of that unlucky ship, and that the wind must have strengthened to a gale. With a clear perception of my plight, there fell upon me a blackness of despair, a horror of remorse at my own folly, and a passion of anger on my uncle that once more bereft me of my senses. When I returned again to life, the same uproar, the same confused and violent movements shook and deafened me, and presently to my other pains and distresses there was added the sickness of an unused landsman on the sea. In that time of my adventurous youth, I suffered many hardships, but none that was so crushing to my mind and body, or lit by so few hopes, as these first hours aboard the brig. I had a gunfire, and suppose the storm has proved too strong for us, and we were firing signals of distress. The sword of deliverance given by death in the deep sea was welcome to me. Yet it was no such matter, but, as I was afterward told, a common habit of the captains, which I here set down to show that even the worst man might have his kindlier side. We were then passing, it appeared, within some miles of Dysart, where the brig was built, and where old Mrs. Hoseason, the captain's mother, had come some years before to live. And whether outwards or inwards bound, the Covenant was never suffered to go by that place by day without a gunfire and colours shown. I had no measure of time. Day and night were alike in that ill-smelling cavern of the ship's bowels where I lay, and the misery of my situation drew out the hours to double. How long, therefore, I lay, waiting to hear the ship split upon some rock, or to feel her real head almost into the depths of the sea. I have not the means of computation, but sleep at length stole from me the consciousness of sorrow.
Very good, well done. Very nicely read. Wow, you're all doing fantastic today. Okay, any questions before I give Alexandra her feedback?
We learn.
Everybody okay? Okay then. So, Alexa, the first word, deafened. To be deaf means you can't hear. To be deafened means maybe after an explosion.
Not like defend.
No,
defend.
defend is D-E-F-E-N-D. That's to defend is a verb. Yeah.
And deaf cannot hear.
That's it. The deaf.
Deafened.
Well, to be deafened means something happens to you that means you can't hear, maybe temporarily. To be deaf means that you can't hear. To be profoundly deaf means you can't hear at all. But to be deafened, maybe after an explosion, you might have ringing in your ears. You feel deafened. Everything's muffled, and then your hearing slowly comes back. Okay.
Yes,
So,
like
try it.
David. Deafened.
That's it. Good. Then world, not wold. World.
World.
That's it. World, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Put your hands up. No. Anyway, world. Then plight.
Light.
That's it. So with a p. Nice explosive plight.
Light.
That's better. Then the pronunciation was okay, but the stress is slightly different. Uproar. So the stress is on the up and it's then roar. Uproar. Try it.
Uproar.
That's it. That means big tra-la-la, big hoo-dee-hoo. Lots of shouting, lots of confusion and uproar. And maybe once politicians have announced something, there's an uproar. Like, no, you can't do that.
Johnson.
Yep. Okay. Maybe. Luckily, not so much anymore. But there were lots of uproars in the house when he was in charge. That's for sure. Then hardships. More than one. Plural. We can't ignore that S just because you don't like it. Hardships. Try it.
Hardships.
That's it. Then this is important. Bowels.
Bowels.
Yeah. Bowls you eat out of. Bowels is where what you've eaten goes into before it is expelled from the body. So to speak. So it's the innards, part of your digestive system, the bowels. Okay, we often say the bowels of the earth, and in this case the bowels of the ship, which means really down deep, low in the ship. Okay, where it's all
like
dark
stomach.
And no, it's past the stomach. Your stomach digests, and then your bowels evacuate. Okay,
Okay.
It goes through your stomach, into the bowels, gets a bit more processing, and then boop, out.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So, then you get one smiley for even. Well done. Not Evan, even.
Even.
That's it. Perfect. Excellent. So, next person on the reading list is Nina. Nina, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent.
Ready. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready then? Oh, let me just increase your volume a little bit. You're a bit quiet. Okay, as soon as you're feeling comfy, if you'd like to begin.
Okay. I was awakened by the light of a hand lantern shining in my face. A small man of about 30, with green eyes and a tangle of fair hair, stood looking down at me. "Well," said he, "how goes how goes how goes it?" I answered by a sob, and my visitor then felt my pulse and temples, and set himself to wash and dress the wound upon my scalp. "Ah," said he, "a sore done. What, man? Cheer up. The words no dawn. The words no dawn. You've made a bad start of it, but you'll make a better. Have you had any meat?" I said I could not look at it, and thereupon he gave me some brandy and water in a tin pannikin, and left me once more to myself. The next time he came to see me, I was lying betwixt sleep and walking, my eyes wide open in the darkness. The sickness quite departed, but succeeded by a worried giddiness and swimming that was almost worse to bear. I etched besides in every limb, and the cords that bound me seemed to be of fire. The smell of the hole in which I lay seemed to have become a part of me, and during the long interval since his last visit, I had suffered tortures of fear. Now from the scurrying of the sheep's head that sometimes pattered on my very face, and now from the small imagine that haunt the bed of fever. The glimmer of the lantern, as a trap opened, shone in like the heavens' sunlight, and though it only showed me the strong, dark beams and dark bands of the ship that was my prison, I could have cried aloud for gladness. The man with the green eyes was the first to descend the ladder, and I noticed that he came somewhat unsteadily. He was followed by the captain. Neither said a word, but the first set to and examined me and dressed my wound as before, while Rosenson looked at me in my face with an odd black look. "Now, sir, you see for yourself," said the first. I high fevered, no appetite, no light, no meat. "You see for yourself, what that means. I am no conjurer, Mr. Ride, said the captain. Give me, give me leave, sir, said Ride. You've a good head upon your shoulders, and good Scots tongue to ask with, but I will leave you no manner of excuse. I want that boy taken out of his hole and put in the forecastle.
Very good, well done. Okay, another bit of ship terminology. I think we're going to learn a lot about ships. Okay, so let's see. Very nicely read though, Nina. Any questions before I give Nina her feedback? Everybody okay? It could be neither, it could be neither. Neither, neither, either, either. Let's call
What
the
is
whole thing off.
What is the British pronunciation? I am a bit confused.
I
I
tend to
always
say, neither. Okay, but
neither,
I've heard
neither,
both. Neither and neither, either and either, and the
neither.
either is correct. Either's correct.
Yeah,
Either's correct.
yeah.
But yeah, good question, Paulette. But yeah, you can say it's in that song. You say potato, I say potato. Well, nobody says potato, but you say tomato, I say tomato, potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Okay, I'll stop singing, Paulette. You're all right. Okay, Nina. First word, betwixt. Betwixt.
Betwixt,
That's it. It
be,
means it's kind of between. Yeah.
it,
Betwixt.
betwixt.
That's it. Then the next one, very important, from to wake, waking,
Oh,
not walking, waking.
I didn't see waking.
That's
Yes, I
it. To
didn't.
wake up. He wasn't walking anywhere because he was tied up.
Yes, yes, wake up.
Okay. Then horrid.
Horrid,
That's it. Good,
horrid,
good, good. And a giddiness. To be giddy, just is giddy.
giddy,
And then the
giddiness,
feeling is giddiness. Yeah. Okay,
giddy,
then ached.
ached,
That's right. If you've got a head and an ache, think about headache. Yeah, headache. Your head aches.
headache.
Yeah, your head aches. So it's kind of, you can say headache, then you can remember ache. Okay. And then rats,
Oh,
not hats. Rats,
yeah,
rats.
rats,
That's better.
that's rabbit.
Okay. So imaginings,
Ima-
imaginings.
Imagining.
That's it. To imagine something, and then you have imaginings. So it's just basically I think he's concussed. He's hallucinating. Okay, then beams.
Beams.
Mm-mm. Say E. Just say
Beams.
beams. That's it. Just say E, and ignore the fact that it's there's an A there. It's like beams. Beams.
Uh-huh. Beams.
Yeah, you're still saying beams. Maybe that's what Americans pronounce it like. I'll let you. But maybe practice it. Beams. There's
Oh,
no
beams. Beams.
bean. Can you say bean?
Beam.
Okay. So bean and beam.
Beam.
Okay.
Beam.
It's something you're going to have to practice, okay? But you're
Yeah.
saying it like bam, bam, but it's bean, een. But anyway, write it down if you're bothered, practice. If not, it doesn't matter. People will pretty much understand. Then examined. To examine somebody, he was examined. Try it.
Examining. Sorry.
Silent E.
Examine.
That's it. Good.
Examine.
And the same with the next one. Silent E. Looked.
Looked.
That's it. And then be careful. Sometimes when it's an you say I.
Ah.
That's it.
Ah.
And then Forecastle. I'm so sorry, but honestly, that's how it is pronounced. Forecastle.
What? Or
Forecastle.
Forecastle.
Forecastle. Have a listen to Google.
Forecastle.
Forecastle. So it's like folk. Yeah.
Yes,
And soul.
forecastle.
That's it. Yeah. And it's typical
Forecastle.
nautical term. Nautical terms. Yeah. What can I say? I saw it and I was like, oh no.
Forecastle.
That's
Forecastle.
it. Well done. I don't expect you to ever remember that.
Thank
But
you
one
very
day you
much.
never know. Yeah, you might be kidnapped onto a ship and you'll be able to say where the forecastle is. Like victuals, exactly, Eleanor. It makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, then, just this little phrase here. Have you had any meat?
Have you had any meat?
That's it. Don't ignore the any. You need that any. And then you get two smileys. The first one, scalp.
Scalp.
That's it. And the second one, succeeded.
Succeeded.
Perfect. Well done. Okay, next person on the reading list is Hermina. Hermina, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready, Lynn.
Excellent. So, whenever you're comfy, if you'd like to start.
Okay, thank you. What ye may want, sir, is a matter of concern to nobody but yourself, returned the captain. But I can tell you that with is to be. Here he is. Here he shall bide. Admitting that you have been paid in a proportion, said the other, I will crave leave humbly to say that I have not. Paid I am, and none too much, to be the second officer of this old tub, and you can very well if do my best to earn it, but I was paid for nothing more. If ye could hold back your hand from the tin pan, Mr. Reich, I would have no complaint to make of ye, returned the skipper. And instead of asking riddles, I make bold to say that ye would keep your breath to cool your porridge. Will be required on deck, he added in a sharper note, and set one foot upon the ladder. But Mr. Reich caught him by the sleeve. Admitting that you have been paid to do a murder, he began. Hoseason turned upon him with a flash. What's that? He cried. What kind of dog is that? It seems it is the dog that you can understand, said Mr. Ryak, looking him steadily in the face. Mr. Ryak, I have sailed with you 3 cruises, replied the captain. In all that time, sir, ye should have learned to know me. I am a stiff man, and a dour man, but for what ye say they now. Fie. It comes from a bad heart and a black conscience. If ye say the lad will die. Ah, will he? Will he? said Mr. Ryak. Well, sir, is not that enough? Said Hoseason. Flit him where he please. Thereupon the captain ascended the ladder, and I, who had lain silent throughout his strange conversation, beheld Mr. Ryak turn after him and bow as low as to his knees in what was plainly a spirit of derision. Even in my then state of sickness, I perceived 2 things, that the mate was touched with liquor, as the captain hinted, and that, drunk or sober, he was like to prove a valuable friend. 5 minutes afterwards, my bonds were cut. I was hoisted on a man's back, carried up to the forecastle, sorry, Vorsissel, and laid in a bunk on some sea blankets, where the first thing that I did was to lose my senses. It was a blessed thing indeed to open my eyes again upon the daylight and to find myself in the society of men. The Vorsissel was a roomy place enough, set all about with berths, in which the men of the watch below were seated, smoking, or lying down asleep. The day being calm and the wind fair, the scuttle was open, and not only the good daylight, but from time to time, as the ship rolled, a dusty beam of sunlight shone in, and dazzled and delighted me. I had no sooner moved, moreover, than one of the men brought me a drink of something healing, which Mr. Ryak had prepared, and bade me lie still, and I should soon be well again. There were no bones broken, he explained. A claw on the head was nothing, man, said he. It was me that gave it ye. Here I lay for the space of many days a close
Okay, well
prisoner.
done. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry, I
Yeah,
thought you'd
yeah.
have heard my little bloop.
I had so the feeling, but I didn't hear
Oh, okay,
any
it didn't come across.
any
Okay.
ring,
Okay,
nothing.
okay.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Very nicely read as well. So you carry on this fantastic reading session. I'm most impressed. Any questions before I give Hermina her feedback? I knew that the forecastle was going to come again. Folksel. Okay, first word. You never know, you might need this if you go off on a cruise.
Never.
Cruises.
No. Cruises.
That's it.
Cruises.
Cruises. Okay, doesn't appeal to you then. Okay, then valuable. Valuable.
Valuable.
That's it. Very good. And that word, forecastle.
I couldn't remember. I heard you read it and corrected it for the readers, but so I forgot it.
It makes no sense, that's why. Forecastle. Try it.
Forecastle.
That's it. And then, well done, you get a smiley for working it out. It's to bow, not like bow and arrow, but to bow.
To
And
bow.
a question for everybody. What does it mean when he said, keep your breath to cool your porridge? What's he
I
telling?
have tried to answer, if you agree.
He shouldn't say anything.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. Keep your breath to cool your porridge, as in shut up.
Yeah.
That's it. Well done. Well done. Okay. So, the next person to read, the last person, but last but not least, Celine. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay. So, everybody, Hermina, could you mute, please?
Yes, of course. Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you. It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
I'm getting old. So
Thank you. Okay, so as soon as you're ready and feel comfortable, Celine, if you'd like to start.
Here I lay for the space of my many days, a close prisoner, and not only got my health again, but came to know my companions. They were a rough lot indeed, as sailors mostly are, being men rooted out of all the kindly parts of life, and condemned to toss together on the rough seas, with masters no less cruel. There were some among them that had sailed with the pirates, and seen things it would be a shame even to speak of. Some were men that had run from the king's ships, and went with a halter round their necks, of which they made no secret, and all, as the saying goes, were at a word and a blow with the best friends. Yet I had not been many days shut up with them before I began to be ashamed of my first judgment, when I had drawn away from them
at the ferry pier, as though they had been unclean beasts. No class of man is altogether bad, but each has its own faults and virtues, and these shipmates of mine were no exception to the rule. Rough they were, sure enough, and bad, I suppose, but they had many virtues. They were kind when it occurred to them, simple even beyond the simplicity of a country lad like me, and had some glimmerings of honesty. There was one man of maybe 40 that would sit on my berth side for hours and tell me of his wife and child. He was a fisher that had lost his boat and thus been driven to the deep sea voyaging. Well, it is years ago now, but I have never forgotten him. His wife, who was young by him, as he often told me, waited in vain to see her man return. He would never again make the fire for her in the morning, nor yet keep the bairn when she was sick. Indeed, many of these poor fellows, as the event proved, were upon their last cruise. The deep seas and cannibal fish received them, and it is a thankless business to speak ill of the dead. Among other good deeds that they did, they returned my money, which had been shared among them, and though it was about a third short, I was very glad to get it, and hoped great good from it in the land I was going to. The ship was bound for the Carolinas, and you must not suppose that I was going to that place merely as an exile. The trade was even then much depressed, since that and with the rebellion of the colonies and the formation of the United States, it has, of course, come to an end. But in those days of my youth, white men were still sold into slavery on the plantations, and that was the destiny to which my wicked uncle had condemned me. The cabin boy Ransom, from whom I had first heard of these atrocities, came in at times from the round house where he bathed, and served, now nursing a bruised limb in silent agony, now raving against the cruelty of Mr. Schumann. It made my heart bleed, but the men had a great respect for the chief mate, who was, as they said, the only seaman of the whole jing-bang, and none such a bad man when he was sober. Indeed, I found there was a strange peculiarity about our two mates, that Mr. Brake was sullen, unkind, and harsh when he was sober, and Mr. Schumann would not hurt a fly except when he was drinking. I asked about the captain, but I was told drink made no difference upon that man of iron.
Very good, well done. Okay. Oh, there's always one word right at the very end that you make me type. Okay, nicely done, Celine. Well done. Okay, any questions before I give Celine her feedback? Everybody okay? Good. Okay, so the first word, honesty, silent H. Honesty. Try it.
Honesty.
That's it. I'm being honest with you. Honestly, it's a silent H. Honest,
Okay.
honestly, honesty. You went, ooh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, the next word, driven. It's the stress. So it's driven.
Driven.
That's it. So we got the verb to drive, and then somebody was driven. Okay.
Driven.
And it's nothing to do with cars. It means you were driven to learn English at some point. Something forced you into it. Okay, then exile. It's more of a x than a x. So exile. Try it.
Exile.
Perfect. And then iron. Iron is a silent R. Not iron, iron.
Iron. Oh, that's a big
Yeah.
revelation now. Iron.
Okay, you can check me on these, you know. You can always go to Google, iron, and
Yeah,
then
well,
just check.
Iron.
Okay, so you got I and then iron.
yeah,
Okay.
it's great. Thank you. Thank you a lot
Okay,
for
you're
that.
welcome. Okay, so then you get two smileys. The first one, they go together, as though, not as thou, as thou, as though. Well done.
Yeah, I thought it was Old English or something. As though. No,
Yeah.
no, I
No,
didn't
when you
think
see
as though.
thou is Old English, but there's no GH. It's just THOU. Thou.
Yeah,
Shall
yeah.
I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so as though. And then birthed. Well done.
Burst.
That's it. And that just means basically on a ship where you sleep is your berth. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
how did we do time wise? Ooh, not bad.
Yeah.
Any questions before I disappear? Okay. So we got to iron. So the next week next session, we're at this paragraph. Hang on a second, let me put it in. And we're on page 54 in the book. We're on chapter 7, I think, yeah? So chapter 7, page 54, and on the actual printed page 49. Okay. So 49. Okay, so let me just put up my corrections for you all. So if you need to find yourselves, and then this is where we will be, and I'll pin it for next. Yes, your returnable mistakes, they will never disappear. They're here for eternity. Okay, that might actually be true, you know, because Discord doesn't seem to delete anything, so I'm sorry about this, guys. But it might be useful one day to come back and think, oh, I'm much better now. I'd never make that mistake again. Okay, bear with me whilst I pin that for next week and then go to the pins and remove last week's. If everybody agrees with me, that should do us for next week. Okay, so I shall love you and leave you. Thank you very much for taking part and for reading. Brilliant job. And I'll see you maybe in the next session and certainly around on the Discord page. You're welcome. You're welcome. And don't forget, you can unmute now and say bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much.
You're
Have a nice sunny
welcome.
day.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Bye, Paulette. See you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.